welcome to the start of another weekly reading vlog in which I try to read all of the books on my own TBR, which is still at over 300 books. But this week I'm not starting this vlog off in my car, I'm starting it off in my office. And that is because yesterday I had the day off from work, which was technically the start of this vlog, and then today I actually close at my job, so I pretty much have the entire day as well. But yeah, I wanted to start this vlog off by telling you the reading plans for this week. I know I said it at the end of the last reading vlog, but in case you didn't see that one, I would like to tell you again, refresh your mind, all that. So yeah. First, I am reading the Radium Girls. I have this physically and as an audiobook that I own, so reading this one and finishing it would actually get 2 books off of my TBR, which would be nice. And I am on page 158. I'm about this far through, and this is a very interesting read. It's sort of what I expected and also not what I expected, in that this is a nonfiction book all about these girls and women who were exposed to radium while working and like painting the dial clocks. And I knew that this book was going to talk a lot about the effects of radium, but this is a very dark, very gross book, I guess you could say. I'm mainly listening to the audiobook, and all of the very graphic depictions of all of the illnesses that these women were going through, and it's very graphic. It's not exactly what I was picturing going into this book. It gives me a lot of the vibes that I would expect from like a body horror book in how descriptive this one is. So it is a very hard read, not just because that the topic itself is just very sad and it's a tragedy, but it's just very hard to listen to all of these depictions of what they were going through. And I wasn't aware of that going into this one. It is a very good book. It is very detailed in the history and everything that was going on. But yeah, it was just very unexpected, which is making this book very hard for me to want to actually pick up and read, because the reading experience of it in itself is not very enjoyable, even though the book is very good, like quality wise. But yeah, that's this one. It is a little over 400 pages, so it is a big one to get through, but yeah, I will be slowly working my way through this one. And then The Blade itself, I also started this one. I'm now on page 213. This book, I think last week I said I thought this book was almost 600 pages. It is not. It is 501 pages exactly. I believe it was 501. Yes, 501 pages exactly. So this is another very chunky fantasy book, although not as big as I thought it was, but I am on 213, so I am making my way through it. This one I did read a little bit of yesterday while I had the day off, but really yesterday I was just taking the day to chill. I was playing video games with my partner. So yeah, I did read some of this yesterday, but not as much as maybe people would expect me to read on my day off, but I don't know. This book is good, but it's not great. In that I think I talked about how this book has multiple different perspectives, and for me, a book that has a lot of different perspectives, you're always going to have some that are more enjoyable to read than others. So there are some chapters in this book that I'm just super excited to read and get to, and then some that I just do not care about. But I have made it to part 2, and the first chapter is following a new character, so I'm sort of interested to see how that all works out. But I am interested in this one still. It's just, I sort of had a lot more hype, I guess, in my head around this one, just because everyone who I know who has read this book really loves this book and this series as a whole. And yeah, I'm not seeing that so far, but I will see when I finally finish it. But yeah, these are two very chunky books that I'm going to be reading this week, so I guess this is the week of me reading bigger books. But yeah, I did just want to come on here and sort of give a little update because I didn't actually update yesterday. I did a little reading time lapse, but that was kind of all I did. So yeah, I figured I would finally actually start this vlog and give an update. Those are the two books that I am currently reading, so I will update you later when something actually happens. Hello and welcome to another little update. So last night I did in fact finish the audiobook for the Radium Girls, which was very disappointing, but I did finish it. I made myself finish it because I knew if I didn't finish it last night I wouldn't ever pick it back up again, so I did finish that one. I ended up giving it a 2.5 star rating, maybe a 2. I'm honestly not too sure. And the thing about it is that after the halfway mark, the writing style was so not dense, I guess. It was written very much like a textbook. It went through a lot of the court proceedings, and I just wasn't interested in that as much. I feel like this book could have been a lot shorter. This book could have been so much shorter. I just have such conflicting feelings about this book because on the one hand, this book does such a good job bringing these historical women into like the readers' minds as like giving like their whole background of who they are, how they came to be in this position of working at the clock painting factories, and how they continued to ingest the radium even though like they had their suspicions of what was going on. And I feel like the whole like historical perspective of this book was really needed and was well done. However, the second part of the book, I just don't feel like this book needed to be as long as it was. It got very dry very quickly. It got a bit repetitive, I suppose, and I feel like once you read half the book, you kind of get the entire book. In that you kind of get the themes early on. Like, corporations will do whatever it takes to make money, even if it means that their employees are dying, and they're just gonna do whatever it takes to sort of brush things under the rug, to sort of get lawsuits settled super quickly and without the public knowing. And after like the halfway point of this book, like, there's really no reason to continue explaining in such detail how the companies are going back and forth with these women in the court. And yeah, I don't know, it just didn't have the same effect. It was just 4 extra hours of the audiobook that I was sitting through that was just so hard to focus on because my work was completely dead. There was absolutely nothing for me to do. I was bored out of my mind, and yet even listening to this audiobook wouldn't keep my attention. Yeah, I don't know. Cause like this book, it's very sad. It's very important, and it's kind of upsetting that I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would and as much as I hoped I would. But yeah, this was definitely a bit disappointing, but either way, I did finish it. So this does take off an audiobook and a physical book off of my TBR because I did own it 2 different ways, which was even more sad, because that's my money right there that I spent in 2 different forms for this book for me not to enjoy it. So that's really a big disappointment. But yeah, that is 2 books now off of my TBR. Last night, after I finished that, I didn't have time to start another audiobook, and I didn't really want to, and I don't really know what I'm in the mood to read next as an audiobook. And I'm really hoping that this book didn't put me into a slump, because that'd be very sad. I feel like I'm on such a roll, but it was very disappointing. So I never started another audiobook. I'm still 200 something pages through the Blade itself, and yeah, that is what I'm currently reading. I'm also still reading We Do This Till We Free Us, which I briefly mentioned in last week's vlog, and I'm still only going to briefly mention it again. I'm now about 70% of the way through this one. I'm reading it very slowly, which is very intentional because of the subject matter of the book, but I am still really enjoying this one. It is for my Feminist Reads project, and it is the last one I need for the next installment in the series, I believe. But yeah, I did just want to mention that one. I am reading that one as an ebook, so yeah, I'm still making progress through things, and I'm still reading. That is kind of all the reading updates that I have right now. I do have the day off today, and yeah, I am obviously in the car. Not my car, this is my boyfriend's car. We are at Chipotle. There's a super long line and it's cold outside, so I'm just sitting in the car. But that is that. So over the weekend I am opening at my store, which means no audiobook listening time really, just because the morning is definitely the busiest time, and yeah, I won't be able to listen to an audiobook. I'll probably still start one as I'm like in the car and driving to and from work, but definitely won't be getting a lot of reading done over the weekend. But yeah, I will probably still keep updating you as things occur, but that is kind of it for this update. So yeah, I will see you for the next one. And welcome to another update in the car. This time, not before I go to work, but after work. And I did start another audiobook. I started Terms and Conditions, which is another big book. This is the week of big books, I've decided. This one's almost a 500-page romance, I believe. I do have this book physically, but I wanted to read it. I was in the mood to read it, so I just got the audiobook from my library. So I did get a physical book off of my TBR, but I did get it off my TBR by getting an audiobook from my library, which is fine because I'm still supporting my library, which is also good. And yeah, this book was interesting to say the least. I decided on giving it 2 stars. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I read the first one and I want to say I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, this one was something. I knew that it was a marriage of convenience romance between a boss and his assistant, and that was pretty much all I knew going into it. What I wasn't expecting was for them to get into this marriage of convenience from the first chapter, which really threw me off because we don't really get the build-up or anything, and I was kind of missing that tension, I guess. And also, being a 500-page romance, it was way too long. It was way too long, and everything was very drawn out. The conflict at the end of the book was just so boring and repetitive, and I just really didn't care at that point. So, yeah. Also, the male main character, wasn't the biggest fan of him. I don't think he was as great of a love interest as in the first book. Yeah, definitely not a favorite, but I did manage to listen to the entirety of this audiobook at work just because things happened at my work where I wasn't forced to interact with customers, which was a very nice surprise. So I did manage to read that entire audiobook, which was great. And yeah, I just wanted to pop in with that quick update. So yeah, that is 2 books now that are almost 500 pages that I have read this week, which is really great. I'm getting these bigger books off of my TBR. I definitely tend to choose a lot of the shorter books just because I like feeling like I'm getting through a book really fast. So yeah, I'm very happy that I decided to go with a little bit of a big book theme this week because I definitely avoid these books. So yeah, I don't know what I will be reading next. I'm still making my way through The Blade itself very slowly, but I am making progress on it. So yeah, I will update you sometime probably tomorrow. Hello, it is now Monday, January 13th. I'm back with another update. I didn't update yesterday. I think I filmed like one little clip, although I don't know if it will actually be added in, but yesterday I went to work and it was another day where I surprisingly wasn't in the front, and so I actually got to listen to my audiobook, and so I finished an entire book again at work, which was great. So the book that I ended up reading was Blood at the Root, and this is a YA fantasy book. This was amazing. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. One of the best YA fantasy books that I have read recently, and this is one that I will definitely be continuing in the series. I don't read much YA, especially not YA fantasy anymore, but this is one that I did have a Libro FM Influence review copy of, so I was interested when I saw the little description about this book, so I got it, and I'm so glad that I did because it was pretty amazing. It's definitely on the more mature end of YA, in that there is smoking, there's sex, and I guess just the things they talk about definitely aren't for like the lower end of YA, like 12 or 13. And I do believe they are technically at a college anyways, so yeah. So it wasn't exactly like a YA book in that sense. It definitely read older, but this is all about our main character who knew that he had magic, but he has been hiding it, and he ends up running away because he is bouncing between foster homes. So he ends up running away, and he ends up finding some of his family members that he's never met or heard of, specifically his grandmother, who ends up taking him in and sending him to this school for people with magic. And, you know, things are happening. It's kind of, at the center of it, has a lot of a mystery plot line to it, in that our main character is trying to figure out what happened to his mom, who mysteriously disappeared, but everyone is saying that she died, and he knows for a fact that she didn't. And yeah, so that's kind of a big plot line of this book, but I just really like the commentary in this book. It touches on a lot of different topics that I really enjoyed, and yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but this book, it's very action-packed, I guess. I like the use of magic, and yeah, this was just a really good one. I'm really happy that I read it, and this is continuing my big book theme that I have going on this week, and that this one is just over 400 pages. So yeah, that was really fun. And then today I actually finished another book, the one that I have been reading, which is We Do This Till We Free Us, which is a collection of interviews and essays all about abolition. And this is one that I keep saying I'm not going to talk too much about because, for one, it's not a book that I actually own. I borrowed the ebook from my library, and it's for my Feminist Reads project. So yeah, I will have a whole video sometime, hopefully soonish, all about this book specifically. Well, there was 4 books on the page for this one, but this one was really great, so I will just say that I did finish it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. It was a really good one that I'm glad I have read, and if you are looking to learn more about abolition, I would definitely pick up this book because it was amazing. But as I gave it 4 stars instead of 5, just because with any collection of things, Some are going to be better than others. Some just didn't really work for me, and that's fine. But yeah, as for other updates, so it is Monday and I do have the day off. I actually have the entire week off, and that's just how the schedule worked out. I'm still scheduled. I think I was scheduled 4 days and then 3 days coming up. But somehow the schedule worked out where I had from Monday through Saturday off. So I have a lot of days off. And even though I finished a book today, it wasn't that many pages, honestly. I've mainly spent the entire day playing video games with my boyfriend. I'm also not sure if I mentioned it, but I did get Bear and Breakfast, and that's just like a really fun, cozy game, and I played a lot of that this morning before my boyfriend was awake. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that game. That one's really fun. I got it because a lot of people had compared it to Stardew Valley, which is one of my favorite games, and they are a bit different in that I think Bear and Breakfast is a bit more stressful, at least to me. There's so much to do. But I guess people could also say that about Stardew Valley, so yeah, I don't know. They are very similar vibes in a sense, but I have been obsessed with that recently, so yeah. As far as my plans go, I did want to take this week that I have off to do things and like go places and like go out to places. So I do have plans to go to like a state park and a garden. And there is a bookstore I went to briefly that I want to go to again. I say briefly. I went there once, but like not that we were necessarily in a rush, but like we didn't take time to be in that bookstore or really to explore the area around it. So I think we're going to go there again as well. So yeah, there will be some exciting leaving the house adventure content coming soon, but yeah, that's kind of my plans for the upcoming days. Obviously this vlog isn't done yet. I do have tomorrow, and tomorrow I don't have any plans. Besides finishing the blade itself, I'm hoping to make some progress on it today, but ultimately I just want to finish it by tomorrow. And I think for my reading plans next week, what I want to do is sort of make more progress on some of the challenges that I had for myself. So one of the challenges that I had was to read a classic a month. I think it was a month. Maybe I just put that I wanted to read 6 and it'd be one every other month. I don't know. But I do want to focus on that because I have had a goal each year to read more classics because I have the poster with like one of the scratch off posters of the top 100 books, which is mainly just classics, and I would like to complete that poster. But I hate classics. They're really not my favorite. So I have been putting it off, but I feel like this year I really need to dedicate the time to actually read those books, especially when I have quite a few of them on my physical TBR. And one of those books that I have on my physical TBR is Jane Eyre. So I'm thinking that once I finish the blade itself, my next physical book will be Jane Eyre. I might also get the audiobook from my library just because I feel like that might help me, especially since the way classics are written, it takes a lot for me to focus on them. So I might get the audiobook and just read them at the same time, like physically and listen to it at the same time. But yeah, I think that will be my next physical book. And then another book that I own physically that I want to read for a challenge is Chlorine. And this is one of the books that I physically own that I have had for a little while now. But I want to read this one specifically just because I've been really thinking about it every time I see it on my shelves. And it's for my Feminist Reads series, and I do want to make a lot of progress on that, and this is one of the books. It's not one of the upcoming books, but I don't own a lot of those upcoming books physically, and yeah. I just feel like next week I need to work on my physical TBR just because I know I am going to specifically be going to at least one bookstore. It will probably end up being a couple other bookstores since I'll be exploring some new places that I haven't been to. And I don't like leaving a bookstore empty-handed, specifically like these independent bookstores. I always want to support them. And like I'm fine with like leaving Barnes and Nobles or like Books A Million or something without buying anything. But these small independent bookstores I definitely want to support. So yeah, that I definitely want to work on reading a bunch of physical books in the coming week. So yeah, those are kind of my plans. Yeah. Also, I tried a new shampoo. This is very off topic and has nothing to do with the reading, but I did try a new shampoo because for Christmas, my grandmother got me a bar of shampoo, and I've never tried a bar of shampoo before, but I do like things that are more eco-friendly and aren't like plastic containers. I don't know what brand it was. I believe she bought it at like a craft fair, so it's like a homemade shampoo. But it is like a bar of shampoo, and yeah, I didn't know how I'd feel about it. It's definitely not something that I'm used to. It took a lot more work just because I do have a lot of hair, but I think my hair is fine. I would like a bar of conditioner to go with it, but I do use a leave-in conditioner after I wash my hair anyways. So yeah, I do think it's fine. But yeah, I will maybe update you again after I've been using it more frequently. But yeah, I did kind of just want to throw that in there because I personally find it very interesting. So yeah, but that was it for this little update. I am probably going to do some homework right now because I'm a bit behind. And yeah, my boyfriend's out, so that's kind of why I have the time and am not playing video games right now. But yeah, I do need to actually do homework, so I'm going to go do that. It is now Tuesday. It is the last day of the vlog, so I am here to sort of wrap it up, tell you what all I've read this week, what's new, and to give you my new numbers and like stats for reading down my TBR. So let's just get into it. Firstly, I did end up finishing The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and this one was the biggest disappointment of my entire life. This one is one that I'm honestly shocked about how much I dislike this book because this book has such amazing reviews. So many people that I watch on BookTube or follow on Bookstagram rave about this book, and one of the specific things I always see talked about is how good this author is at writing female characters, and I do not see that. The first female character in this book doesn't even show up till part 2, and they are barely a part of this book, and that is the only female main character. And there is another woman in this book who is a big part of the non-existent plot, I suppose, but she is treated terribly by everyone. She's seen as more of an object, and yeah, everyone's just really mean to her. She, I would say, doesn't have a role outside of being a supporting character to these men. And yeah, considering I went into this book expecting great female characters and didn't get any, and just got a bunch of slander against women in this book, it was not my favorite. Besides that, this book just has no plot. It's very boring, it's very long, it's very tedious, and I know one of the things I've been seeing in reviews is that the characters in this book are not likable because it is a grimdark fantasy, and to that I would say there is one character in this book who at least has an interesting story, and who anytime I got to their POV, I was interested in reading it, unlike some of the other characters who I just found boring or annoying to read from. So I kind of feel like that is false. I don't need to like a character in order to be fine with reading about that character. But there at least has to be something happening that's interesting, that's adding to the story. And I just didn't get that with the majority of this book. And so I would say the first half of this book, I would give like a solid 3 stars. That was sort of my rating throughout this whole book, was that I was just waiting for it to get good, and it just got worse. So yeah, I definitely will not be continuing on in this series, and I don't ever see myself reading from this author ever again. And yeah, this was just a really big disappointment. It is my first 1-star book of the year, so that is very sad, but I'm done with it now. So besides finishing that, earlier in this vlog you saw that I read Terms and Conditions and The Radium Girls, as well as Blood at the Root, on the Root, something like that. I also finished We Do This Till We Free Us, and today, this morning actually, I DNF'd Lest, which is a book about like Australian war myths, and yeah, this was a book that I owned on audio and I just couldn't do it, so I did DNF it, which does get a book off my audio TBR. I also did end up getting the Reformatory. I'm adding this one to my TBR. I did not pay for it, so I still have yet to spend a single dollar on a book this year, but this was a Christmas gift from my mom. It just came in really late because this book was on back order, so it took a while for it to get here, but I finally have it and it is being added to the TBR. Yeah, this is like a historical horror book that I'm really excited to get to. I have heard only great things about this book, so I am super excited. So my total TBR is currently at 336 books, and breaking that down, it is 117 ebooks, 115 audiobooks, and 104 physical books. So my ebooks has stayed the same from the beginning of the year. My audiobooks and my physical books have gone down though, so we're making some slow progress, but progress is progress. So my plans for next week, I already kind of talked a little bit about it, but I do have some exciting adventures planned. I will be going to some bookstores, so I will probably be getting some books in, which is going to hurt my TBR, but it's okay. I will also be going to a state park, so that's also exciting. But as far as what I plan to read next week, I have Jane Eyre and Chlorine. Jane Eyre I'm going to be reading for my classics challenge of the month. This is one that I own physically, obviously, but yeah, I will be attempting to read this next week. I'm not sure if I will finish it in the week, but I will at least be starting it. Then Chlorine is a very short one, so I predict that I will finish this one very quickly, but this one is also on my physical TBR, and it is one that is for my Feminist Read series, so I want to make progress on that. But that is it for this vlog. I will be starting my next one. I do hope to continue vlogging each week. That is my plan, but I do have some other videos that will be coming somewhat soonish, so you can look forward to some actual like videos that aren't vlogs soon. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment whatever you feel like commenting, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!